racism, prejudice, discrimination, and xenophobia. All throughout American history, certain minority races have been caught in the constant battle and fight for basic human rights, especially the right to equality and freedom from discrimination. Hi, my name is Raven Libanow. We are live on Spartan News Channel 22, and today we bring our attention to the recent alarming hate crimes focused on the Asian Americans. On Tuesday, March 16th, 8 people, including 6 Asian women, were shot dead in a shooting spree at 3 Asian-owned day spas in Acworth and Atlanta, Georgia. An unspeakable tragedy, not only for the families of the victims, but also for the Asian community who are experiencing an increase of severe accounts of discrimination and violent hate crimes. 21-year-old Robert Aaron Long, the suspect in the shootings, was caught and arrested after a 3-hour manhunt and has been charged with 8 accounts of murder and 1 account of aggravated assault. We go to reporter and journalist Jacob Salinas down in Atlanta, Georgia. Jacob, what can you tell us about the official police press conference?
Thank you, Raven. It has been publicly announced that one of the cops who spoke on his official arrest, Officer Jay Baker, claimed that Robert was just having a bad day, which makes many viewers skeptical that race was involved with these shootings. Police also state that these shootings were motivated by Robert's sexual addiction, indicating he had struggled with these issues in the past. With this, he felt the need to eliminate his temptation, so he targeted 3 Asian spas in Atlanta, also admitting that he planned to target more had he not been caught. It has been publicly concluded that the shootings were declared racially charged attacks. In addition, Officer Baker has also provided a history of anti-Asian motivations and appears to be downplaying this anti-Asian violence.
Thank you so much, Jacob. As we get back to the spike in anti-Asian hate crimes, we see an alarming amount of Asian elderlies becoming the target of individual attacks and robberies. For some reason, younger teens and adults have been the main aggressor in these situations and are taking advantage of the defenseless. We go to newspaper editor and Asian Lives Matter activist, Kayla Malari. Kayla, tell us about the racial hostility and violence towards Asian elders.
Thanks, Raven. We are here today in Oakland, California, where it is heartbreaking to say we've been getting an increasing number of elderly Asian Americans admitted into the emergency room, badly injured or in critical health due to brutal attacks by younger and stronger attackers. One incident in particular, an 84-year-old Thai man, Vicha Ratandapakdi, is dead after a horrific daytime attack in San Francisco's Alta Vista neighborhood. Residential security cameras caught the attack on video, showing an elder being charged at and pushed onto the ground. The attacker flees the scene with a female associate.
His attacker brutally shoves him to the ground, leaving him unconscious, where police find him, taking him to the hospital, later confirming his death.
The police say their suspect is 19-year-old Antoine Watson, later charged with elder abuse and booked on 1 account of murder. Ratandapakdi's critical injuries had led to an unfortunate and unjustified death later that day in the hospital. The family of Ratandapakdi is outraged over San Francisco District Attorney Chesa Boudin's claim that Antoine was having some sort of temper tantrum, which is leading to skepticism in the case of pertaining to a racially charged attack.
What is the reason for these racially unprovoked attacks against the elders, sending them to the hospital in critical conditions, even risking death? We believe that elders are being easily targeted for their defenseless manner. They are fragile and most likely unable to protect themselves against a single attacker. 84-year-old Visha Ratanapanki was just walking down his neighborhood, getting some morning exercise, when he was run to the ground by his attacker. This incident was said to be racially charged, and it is just one example of hate crimes towards Asian elders happening in our country today. Let's take a deeper look into how these violent hate crimes are making citizens of the Asian community in San Francisco feel towards the ongoing discrimination in our country. We asked San Jose State University college student Sean Berber about his thoughts and experiences in school as well as living in the city. Hey Sean, glad to have you here with us. Tell me, being a part of the Asian community, does race affect your college life? How often are you faced with or are witnessing racial discrimination towards yourself or your fellow Asian students? How does this make you feel, and what does this say about our country as a whole?
Thanks for having me. As a Filipino, I am very proud to be part of the Asian community, and recently I've been having an overwhelming feeling of shock and fear, seeing the numerous attacks on the Asian Americans in the news. From the start of the outbreak, I didn't realize that American citizens of Asian descent would be subject to racial attacks just because the COVID-19 pandemic started in China. It doesn't help that our former president added to this racial mockery by calling it the Kung flu or the China virus. But to answer your first question there, I myself have not experienced racism or discrimination towards myself here at school. But I do realize that it does affect my college life daily. There are a lot of Asian Americans at SJSU, making it very comfortable for me to fit in. The Asian community at San Jose State and other minority groups have been advocating for Asian Lives Matter. But however, just because I myself and my friends haven't experienced racism and discrimination at San Jose State, that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist and it's not surrounding us. I stand with putting an end to racial injustices and fighting for the fight to equality and freedom for all Asian Americans. This topic should make those that are not part of Asian descent to feel uncomfortable and uneasy, because the more we can open the eyes of the ignorant, the people who are part of the problem, and not making solutions any better by participating in racial skepticism, the more we can change and make a difference for the greater good of America. Thank you.
Very well said, Sean. Thank you for your strong and encouraging words. Everyone tuning into this broadcast should be taking notes from Sean's great attitude and inspiring cause. During these tragic times of the COVID-19 pandemic, America has seen a great deal of civil rights movements in fighting for the equal treatment of minority groups. America, it is up to us and our young, diverse generations to raise awareness to the racial discrimination and violent hate crimes against Asian Americans. Just like how many minority groups had come together to fight for Black Lives Matter and are still continuing to do so, we need to do the same for our Asian community.
Protect our elder Asians.
Humble, ignorant, and aggressive customers and/or employees and businesses.
Speak out against racist Asian slurs.
And stand together for the bigger fight of racial equality and equal treatment.
It is not okay to let the origin of the coronavirus dictate how you treat your fellow Asian citizens.
It is not okay to discriminate against Asian Americans or target them for hate crimes when they did nothing wrong.
Lastly, it is not okay to stay silent during times like these where our Asian citizens need help. Asian Lives Matter.
Asian Lives Matter.
Asian Lives Matter.
Asian Lives Matter.